Evening, IG. Good evening. Welcome, TikTok. Good evening to your weekly Wednesday show. I am Camille Jones of CEJ Images, your holistic health practitioner that takes these Wednesdays to give you little nuggets of logic that I hope you use to connect in a straight line to your own individual state of wellness. As always, I give you some disclaimers on this show, right? And again, I'm looking everywhere because I got so many streams going on. Patrice, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank y'all for being on. All right, so disclaimers. My name is Camille Jones of CEJ Images. I am the creator of Lymphatic Frequency Detox. I am not a physician, not a doctor. I don't want to be a doctor. I am what is called a holistic health practitioner, specializing in what's called lymphatic frequency detox. In not being a physician, I choose the other side of a journey to wellness, right? Physicians, doctors, what do? They treat, right? It is the practice of medicine. As a holistic health practitioner, we simply put your body in a state where it can heal itself like it was created to. So what I do on these weekly Wednesday shows is I hopefully lead you to spaces of logic, little nuggets that you could put together so you don't stay afraid in this current system of genocide that we call our healthcare system, unfortunately. Another disclaimer. On top of that, I am never, ever, ever, ever speaking against or offensively about physicians or doctors. My parents are some of the best. I learned from them. I know how much commitment and willingness and desire to help it takes for physicians to be physicians. I love you. I get that. Thank you so very much. In saying that, I have to state fact in order for you to get what I'm saying and where I'm coming from. The current practice of medicine in the United States, ruled by the American Medical Association, the AMA, was created in 1900 by a businessman named John D. Rockefeller. That is not a secret. That is not something that I make up. You could read a gazillion books about it. John D. Rockefeller created the American Medical Association as he created what we call formal education for indoctrination. So we have physicians all over the world who just want to help, and I love them for that. But I have to also understand that they were indoctrinated by a society that was created intentionally to make profit for Rockefeller in surgery and medications. I can name a gazillion books, y'all, that you can go read about the history of the American Medical Association. I reference that for this reason. Doctors do not have leeway to do every broad thing that they think may work for you. And if they go against the American Medical Association and what they and the insurance companies, big business, have now said that doctors can and cannot do, we as collateral damage are missing out on things that could help us because they're dictated by business. And that's fact. And so I just need to claim that in the beginning so that you get where I'm coming from. I am not speaking down about doctors. I absolutely am not. Am I pretty upset about the creation of the school that trains them? Absolutely. And so I have a goal for the entire world in what I call global wellness, because y'all, being born in perfection was our birthright. There is a reason that all of our functionality is inside of a sealed body, because anything that heals that comes from the inside of the sealed body, which means any and everything man-made outside of nature will always, always, always be detrimental to the natural being, including us. Our human brains are the greatest thing ever. They also get us in trouble all the time. So when I speak, I don't speak from data. Data is for computers. Anybody can write a report, right? I speak from results. I see it every day in my clients. They come from all over the world to get better because after years of that indoctrination, they never got relief. And the minute you allow the body to reset itself, the body gets better. It is 100% guaranteed if you understand the function of the body. So on these weekly Wednesdays, what I like to do is hopefully get you all to a place where you begin to use the logic of that superhuman brain to put facts and pieces of information together to keep you out of hospitals and out of doctors' offices. Because if you're as old as I am, when we were growing up, we only went to the doctor if we were sick. People who aren't sick don't need to go to the doctor. I mean, that's logic. Please tell me you know that that's common sense, right? If you're not sick, why are you going to a doctor? Hospitals were not created to take care of people. They were created during the wars. They were created during the wars to simply sew back on limbs and treat trauma. It is not meant for us to go and give our whole life space, right? Cannot give our whole life space to an entity that was created not for your benefit. It was created for profit. And now many of these poor doctors are literally imprisoned by what the AMA, CDC, NIH, or their insurance companies say they can and cannot do. And let me tell you, gazillion-dollar big pharma ain't worried about your wellness, okay? They're not. And we can have a whole show, maybe next week I'll do that, about how ridiculous it is that they have now started to tell you in their advertisements how they are going to shut down your functionality and kill you. Yet the programming has you still going out and taking those pharmaceutical narcotics that you otherwise would be under the jail for, but they can give them to you, scare you into taking them, and then be released of all liability forever. Thank you. Good night. So if you understand what I know, and you understand the logic of the human body, you would never be afraid of any disease, any illness. Signals would be exactly what they are, signals and not symptoms. We just have to understand. We have to understand, Khadijah. Hello, my sister. I love you much. We have to understand the workings of the body. And that's going to be the hardest for a lot of you to understand, because I'm going to say this to you. There is no function in the body without the brain. Absolutely impossibility. There is no function of the body without the brain. The signals from the brain send signals to the body to do stuff. We have to keep this brain moving and active in order for it not to atrophy, causing the body to do the same thing. And for the reasons that I just stated, the body will only do what the brain tells it. And conversely, it can't do anything other than the brain tells it. So when I talk about logical wellness, I'm speaking about using the brain's logic to control the body, because that's what it was designed to do, can't do nothing else. If the brain tells the body to do something, the body can't say, you know what? I'm going to use my other brain and I'm going to go against the primary brain. Come on, y'all. It doesn't even make sense, right? Doesn't even make sense. My IG people, I love to use the word stupid, because stupid in action, I don't call people stupid. That's just offensive. But the way we think sometimes is stupid, i.e. illogical. Illogical to me is stupid, right? It doesn't make sense. So it's stupid. And you are right. Fear is the real virus. And I swear to goodness, our country have the monopoly on that like nobody else in the world, which is why we in America are dying like we're dying. So I'm tired. As a holistic practitioner, I'm passionate because I'm tired. I'm tired of people, my clients, coming and laying on my table and crying before they get off because they've lost a family member, a friend who was otherwise healthy, but they've just been dropping dead. Y'all, that is a waste. We have so much power in here. There is none of that. We were not created to age old. You do know that, right? Cells control the body. Cells turn over every 28 to 90 days in general health status, right? So if that's the case, there is no such thing as aging. What we see in lines and wrinkles and weight and tiredness is simply excess water, right? You get rid of the water, the cells that are always between 1 and 3 months old, given the right things like nutrients and water and exercise and breathing, those cells are constantly turning over and keeping us young in that theoretical 3-month space. We are not meant to do what we're doing. Do you know? Listen, you know that, oh, well, maybe y'all don't on TikTok, but IG, y'all know. I love souls, right? But I swear to goodness, I hate people. Humans, we suck. We are the worst things in the world, and I can't stand us. So I don't see human, I see souls, which means we can disagree. We can not live in the same place. We can have completely different mentalities, but because you are a part of my same natural energy, I have to love you anyway. At least if I want my life to stay as great as it is, I know I got to love us all. We all do, right? That's where the strength comes from. That's why they keep trying to break it, right? By controlling the mind. So y'all got me going everywhere, right? So I am passionate about what I say because I'm one of the people that people come to after decades of being told that they would never get better, never feel better, never be symptom free. I see these people who have been told that by scores of doctors and get on my table and reset and feel better just like that. And you don't have to ask me, ask any of my affiliates, ask any of my clients, read their testimonies. This is what we see every day. And guess what else? That is normal. That is normal. To do something to the body and the body gets better immediately, that is normal. That is the way the body was created. It's the other shit that we as men and women trying to play God, creator, whatever it is, have done to us. The body doesn't need us, right? Because we screw up all the time as humans. And I'm going to say this as a joke, but it's not really a joke for those of you who actually follow the stories in the Bible, right? But if you do, what did we do? First off, as soon as humans were created, we went to the tree and ate the apple and fucked up from the beginning. So that's our life space, right? Humans are here to just fuck shit up. That's it. That's it. And on the inside, that energy and that spirit surrounded by what? Water. That energy is what heals from the inside, which is why that energy is surrounded by and protected by tissues, bones, cells, blood, and everything else. There isn't anything that man can create that will fix or heal a human body on the inside because man has no freaking idea how the inside functions. And that's logical. Remember, I always like to connect y'all. I don't just say things that you all can't figure out on your own, right? That's logical, right? You cannot completely assess the function of something that you don't understand. Man, humans and women can never recreate nature. We can never recreate human beings, which means there will never, ever be a way for us as humans to assess the natural, original function of the body because it is automatic on the inside. And the minute we cut into that and traumatize that, we change the body's normal function. So it's impossible. Listen, even for me and other holistic providers who see people and symptoms go away, you do know that's not us, right? All we're doing is acting as a segue to your body healing itself like it's supposed to. So we don't have to guess in this lymphatic frequency space. We don't have to guess. It is a change in the way you see disease and the way you see signs and symptoms that allows you to fix the signal before it becomes a problem, which is why I want everybody to come take the friggin' lymphatic frequency course. This is the way that people hear their families. Some of y'all pay insurance, right? You go broke. You go broke in your lifetime because you're paying insurance to insure what? You're paying gazillions of dollars to a corporation who is telling you that they're not going to cover anything that's actually going to make you feel better. But just in case they feel like it, you're going to pay them monthly a significantly insane premium, period. Significantly insane premium. I don't have insurance. For what? If you understand logic, your body can never fail because the signals from the brain to the body that are logical make sense. So here's the connection I'm making from the brain to the body. The brain signals and the body follows, period, point blank, period. Doesn't matter what it is. The body follows the head because it has no choice. Has no choice. So if the brain, which operates in electrical synapses, right, and electrical charges, you can imagine that something that sophisticated has to be what? Balanced and linear and logical, yeah? Otherwise, the synapses are going crazy and then they tell you you have dementia and Parkinson's and other neurological diseases. It's just a disconnect in the synapses, oftentimes from no movement, too much water, not enough oxygen, or man-made viruses. So we, because remember, the body wasn't created with viruses. The body didn't even bring that. Humans brought that. Again, we screw up, been screwing up since the beginning. So I refuse to give my power over my superpower to a human. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We simply need to know how to read it. And what I mean by read it is what we're about to do. What I mean by read and understand the body, a couple of things, but I'm going to be specific in what I do because I want y'all to do the same thing. We don't, as people, ever ask who, what, why, when, and how. When I was in school, that's what we had to learn, right? We had to learn to ask those questions. Otherwise, you're not getting any information. That means nothing. That means nothing, right? Nothing. Okay, wait a minute. I gotta back up for a second. Somebody asked me a question. Big eyes, make sure that if I don't answer this later, about the water, answered again. So the idea is we've got to keep the brain balanced to balance the water, right? So, thank you. Thank you. So this is what we need to do. I want you all, when we're using logic, we don't ask these questions when we go to the doctor. The doctor says, I want you to take this. Okay, so if you want me to take that, I need you to tell me why. I need you to tell me how long. I need you to tell me what exactly that particular medication is going to do in my body that resolves the problem. Because if they can't give you the source of the problem, they can't fix you. You do know that, right? That's like me saying, okay, we're going to run a 10-kilometer race, right? And you're like, okay, well, where's the start line? I don't fucking know. Well, then how do I know how far I got to run? You don't. It's the same exact thing when you go to the doctor and you keep your freaking mouth shut. You have to use, okay, because when you don't, like your muscles in your body, if you're not using them, what do? They atrophy. So if you're not using this and watching social media and the internet and TV is doing the opposite, it's killing this, it's making it atrophy because you're not thinking outside of the freaking matrix. You're not thinking outside of the box. And when you don't, your synapses stop firing and you stop thinking. And then you feel crazy emotions. And when the brain is atrophying, meaning it's not being used, that is an imbalance to the body and the body begins to swell. And then they tell you that you've got, let's start with migraines, and then maybe an aneurysm, and then maybe blood clot. It's all of that they guess, right? And we're going to go through this in a minute. So we're going to talk about high blood pressure. And I'm going to try not to get frustrated, okay? Because I love y'all and I want y'all to use enough logic to hear how stupid our living is. We've become absolutely stupid, like just zombies. Because you do know, if you have no logic, if you can't use or attach to your logic, you do know that makes you a zombie, right? That's the definition of a zombie. Somebody who's half dead, who can't use their brain and simply moves at whatever slave master is telling it to do. Because here's something else. If you do things against your best interest that are most likely going to harm you, and you feel in your soul that you shouldn't take them, and you take them anyway because somebody told you to take them, you are a slave. Lots of us are slaves to lots of things, but you're a slave. If you can't use your own logic, you're a slave or a zombie. One of the two, either one to me is not real attractive. So you have got to use this, because if this is moving, the body's moving. It has to by default. So I want you to use logic, right? And my IG people know that I used to tell y'all, stop Googling shit. And I don't mean stop Googling things. I mean, don't Google something, choose one piece or one person to listen to, and then not ask any questions or get any more information, right? Any more information that you can then use to connect dots to yourself. Yeah, because you got to. You absolutely got to. And diabetes, everything. So this is what we're going to do, right? We are going to go through what I call logic and what I hope that you all would do in certain situations like this. Yeah? Okay, we're going to do high blood pressure. And I will put diseases in air quotes every time because I don't believe in disease, y'all. I'm a Sabi follower and he was genius. And I see in every client what he was always talking about. So nobody could ever tell me that he didn't know what he was talking about, right? There is no disease, y'all. If you look at the definition of disease on Google, it will tell you it's the body out of order. I mean, damn, they're right? They say if you want to hide stuff from people, put it right in front of their face. They'll look right over it. They'll gloss it. Yo, the people that we trust to give us the definition of things have defined disease as the body out of order, which means you can infer what? You can infer that the body in order, there is no disease. Yeah, right. So we have a system that keeps the body in order as long as it's not stagnant. And that system is called the lymphatic system. Period. Y'all know this is it. This is me. I don't give a shit about any other system in the body, because if the lymph system is not constantly doing its job on autopilot, no other system in the body is going to work. None, because oxygen doesn't just float in the body, people. It travels in the water of the lymph system, which also feeds the blood, the spinal fluid. It's all lymph fluid. And the system that we were given works 24/7, 365 days a year, right? Crohn's disease. Yes, we'll talk about Crohn's disease again if I don't forget, water and Crohn's disease. So same thing, although that might be a little, maybe I'll do digestive stuff next week because that's going to be a long conversation too. So when we talk about cellular function in the body, which is this one, yes, which is this one, we have cells that are surrounded in mucous membranes. Mucus is very important for the body, right? It's very important for the body as long as it stays thin enough to carry the lymph water, which carries the oxygen, which stimulates cellular turnover, which allows the lymphs to carry more oxygen. You get that big circle on the inside, doesn't need to come out at all. It goes on the inside by itself until we genius, stupid humans make shit that clogs that system. And when I say things that clog the system, I'm speaking molecularly. The inside of our body functions in water. And the molecular particles have to be nano size to fit through our lymph system. It's water. So anything that is molecularly larger than a nanoparticle Hello, scary that NASA is working on nanoparticles. That's so they could put more computer programs in your water directly and control everything your body does, or it just makes you drop dead like people are dropping dead. Again, different freaking conversation. Because man can't create yet those little nanoparticles, and we are beings that man can't create, everything that man creates will stagnate the water system in the body. Everything that man creates, because man did not create us, everything that they make and put into us stagnates the lymphatic system. Period. That's everything. Processed food, the shit they're spraying in the air, everything we put on our bodies, everything we don't make, grow, or pick up from the ground or outside. Yep, taking us out. Because those molecules cannot fit inside the nanoparticular perfection of our waterway inside of the body called the freaking lymph system. That's why it is crucial that you drink freaking water, because the system that is meant to detox all of the molecules in water through its detox channel is made of water. So if you want it to move, you got to give it water. People say, how much water should I drink a day? How much do you want your body to function? That's on you. There is no general healing, y'all. We are billions of people on the planet and none of us are duplicated. Even if you're a twin, that twin isn't you. So how are you going to compare me to anybody else to tell me what I need? I'm the only one that could do that. You're the only one who could do that. Why do we close our eyes to that and let a human who's been indoctrinated with information for only 200 years, but information that has nothing at all to do with me because they've never seen me before? That is illogical to me, that we don't understand that power and choose to give it to other humans. You have to listen. The body on the outside, the skin was put there to sensitize us to a problem. If mucus is stagnant in an area, what are you going to get? Eczema or a bruise, or you're going to itch, or it's going to hurt, or it's going to swell. Those are all signals, right? Eczema is only thickened mucus that comes through the skin because the lymphs are stagnant beneath it and it can't pull it through the water, so it sticks out on the skin. And Jesus, where it breaks is exactly where the problem is. It's exactly where the problem is. So people who get eczema sometimes take a Himalayan salt rock or a massager or your knuckles and just for about a minute, rub. So you're going to feel the pockets of mucus underneath the skin if you rub right? If you absolutely rub right. So let's talk about blood pressure, right? Because this is a thing that I want y'all to do, okay? I want y'all to be able to use this logical process to not sit, right? Is to not sit still. The body is water, like the ocean. It doesn't like to be stagnant. If there was no moon to control the wind, there'd be no motion or waves in the ocean. The ocean would have sediment. Inflammation is our sediment. So you got to move the water, right? Remember, everything is water-based, okay? Surrounded by energy. And that energy and water, you can imagine energy and water together in a little cyclical space. You can understand how specific that balance has to be. So let's say we went to the doctor and the doctor says, you have high blood pressure. Let me show you what Camille would do, okay? I would go to Google, which I tell y'all not to do, but what I mean is don't look in one space. Don't look and read one place. Take pieces of information and make that information make you ask more questions, right? And the more questions that get answered, then you're getting to the right solution. Okay. Thank you for the roses, TikTok. I love y'all. Okay. So if somebody said, okay, you have high blood pressure, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to Google what Google says high blood pressure is. So what they say high blood pressure is a condition in which the force of the blood against the artery walls is too high. Huh. So I need somebody, and I'll give you a second, I'll wait. I need somebody to tell me in that sentence where they describe the source of the problem. No? Yeah, I didn't see it either. A condition in which the force of the blood against the artery walls is too high. Okay, so my next question would be, well, what in the hell causes the blood against the artery walls to be too high? And if your doctor cannot answer that question, you would be smart to say, thank you very much, stand up and walk the hell out of that office. Because if they can't answer that, then anything that they're giving you is a guess. It's a guess. Of course it's a guess, because they don't know the cause. Now, let me continue reading. Usually, I mean, come on, y'all. What does usually mean? There are billions of people on the planet. So how usual does usual have to be for me to accept that this is an acceptable answer? Usually, hypertension or high blood pressure, right? And listen, they give it to you in the words, right? Just like biological. Study of living organisms is logical. It's not bioscientific. So they say it in the words. Hypertension. Tension in what? Tension in the water, right? It's inflammation. It's a stagnation of water. A stagnation of water gets heavy and it gets hot. So usually, hypertension is defined as blood pressure above 140/90 and is considered severe if the pressure is above 180/120. Okay, all right. Okay, if any of y'all still think it's a good idea after you read something like that to take medications that gives you a description like that, that's an issue. Listen, first of all, they say usually. What in the shit does usually mean? Usually who? Usually in Camille's life? Because Camille's the only one that I'm worried about, right? Literally, I'm the only one that I'm worried about. So usually what? No, I need you to say in Camille's life, this is her baseline and she should be at this. And if she's not, then maybe it's high for her, because ain't nobody but me on this planet. There's nobody but you on this planet. So is defined as a blood pressure above 140/90. Hold on. For who? For me and my husband, who is 6'2", 200 something pounds, is 140/90 for who? In whose life? What and where in the shit did you get 140/90 from? You all do know that when surgeons and doctors are in med school, they practice on cadavers, right? Dead people. They practice on dead people. So you know when their practice comes? When they start treating you. That's when, because they don't have it the way they need it in med school. Sometimes they do, but oftentimes they don't. They practice on dead people. So why would I even want to get information about what's going on my body when I'm listening to another human who didn't create me, who has no idea how I function on the inside? So 140/90 for who? If you have a stressful job and you have crazy kids, you consider your own baseline blood pressure by taking your blood pressure every day for 3 weeks when you get up and after you've peed, and before you go to bed, 45 minutes or so before. You keep those tracks and you keep those numbers. And every time you take those numbers, you say, how do I feel? Do I feel thirsty? Do I have a headache? Do I feel great? How do I feel? Do I feel sluggish? Do I have energy? I promise you, if you take into account those baseline numbers and your signs or your symptoms or lack thereof, you have then just established in that 3-week average what your baseline blood pressure is. No other human on the planet can do that, just you. Your doctor can't do that, just you. And when you go sit at the doctor, what are they going to do? They're going to ask you, So you need to start asking yourself and making straight lines. If the information that you're getting creates lines like this, that is not logic, y'all. That's illogic. And if your brain is in chaos, the body's in chaos, and the body in chaos is what they call disease. So if you're reading that and you're like, wait a minute, it's considered above 180 over 120. If you are some of my clients, your baseline blood pressure is 180 over 120. You are completely asymptomatic. You feel fine. That is the way your body is needing to process you. But you're going to go and let a doctor in one 20-minute visit, one day out of 365 days of the year, take your blood pressure while you are suffering from white coat syndrome. You are going to let that person who didn't create you, who doesn't live with you, who is not inside your brain, tell you what your body is or is not doing the other 364 days of the year. That, ladies and gentlemen, is stupid to me. And remember, I'm not calling you stupid. That lack of logic is stupid to me. And it's fear-driven. I want everybody to understand the power of their body so much that fear never enters or plays a part. Because the last 2.5 years, fear made half of us dumb as hell. And then I'm talking about us, yes. Dumb as hell out of fear, because there was nothing logical about the shit that happened 2 years ago. And now we are experiencing the fallout of it with people dropping dead. That's fear, because there was no logic in that. You can't go back there and actually take pieces of information and make a straight line, because it doesn't. It won't. It never did. So back to high blood pressure. So here's the next sentence, y'all. So here's the next sentence. This is what's great to me, right? Because it's so stupid, it's laughable. So the next sentence says, high blood pressure often has no symptoms. Well, then what the hell is high? If it has no symptoms, then your body doesn't need excess help from you in order to make its water move. You know where antibodies are sent from? In the water of the lymphs, which is why you swell when you have trauma. That's a healing space, but that takes a cyclical motion. It sends the water, the lymphs got to pull it back. If they can't pull it back, then you have sitting water mixing with mucus, which thickens, and then does what? Causes the artery walls to do what? Beat faster and harder. So then I have to read this. I'm sorry, y'all. Over time, high blood pressure often has no symptoms. So wait a minute. You just told me, doctor, that I was above 140 over 90, which is supposed to be average for everybody on earth? Really? And then if it's higher than 180 over 120, then my body doesn't have any symptoms. That means what? What? Okay, so if you get past that, now you're going to tell me it oftentimes has no symptoms. So if there are no symptoms, the body is handling it like it's supposed to. That's what asymptomatic means. But then y'all had dodos telling you that you could be sick asymptomatic. There's no logic in that, y'all, okay? There's no logic. So then it says, over time, if untreated, listen, I need y'all to break down what you read, please, and read it 2 and 3 times. Over time, if untreated, it can cause health conditions. Hold on. I thought you just said high blood pressure was a health condition. Now that space, or whatever you're going to call it, now is going to create health conditions. You mean high blood pressure is not a health condition? Like I'm so confused. I wouldn't do anything that a doctor told me if this is what I was reading, right? So such as heart disease and stroke. But so you're saying high blood pressure is not a health condition? I'm confused. Then listen, okay, y'all. Okay, here we go. This is why I need y'all to be able to connect these dots, because I need you to assess what we are about to finish reading. The last sentence says, eating a healthier diet Exercising regularly and taking medications can help lower blood pressure. Okay, so the first thing you said was eating a healthier diet, maybe. Exercising, maybe. May can help lower blood pressure, can help, which means still there is no information in there that tells you about the cause or the direct journey that they're going to take to make you better. No practice. If any practitioner, a holistic one like me or a doctor, tells you or suggests to you that you need to do something and cannot journey that with you, meaning from cause to effect to hopeful effect, they cannot help it. They cannot. They cannot. They cannot help you. So I need you just to read, right? And then connect dots. Because again, thank you. Where do you see the cause of the issue? They don't give you one, because every single cause in every different person, in every person is based on that individual person. That's it. It's based on you. And the only person who can assess how you are doing at all times is you. Anytime you go to a doctor, they're going to ask you, what is happening to you, right? What is happening to you? Okay. TikTok, I will, after I get off Chit Chat Radio at 8:30. Absolutely. So then I said, well, okay, so what are the causes that cause the arteries to beat with force or beat harder? This is their answer. Strong emotional responses, such as stress, anxiety, or panic attacks. Okay, that all can cause that. When someone has a panic attack, what do they ask you to do? Breathe, right? Because what is it, y'all, that regulates blood flow? It's oxygen. It's the same thing that allows the water flow of the lymphs in this cycle to actually function. So they're talking about emotional responses, which cause us to what? Breathe more shorter breaths. Then they say depression, strenuous exercise, stimulants, including caffeine, nicotine, cocaine, amphetamines, and cold and cough medications that contain pseudoephedrine. So essentially, still, I don't see the answer as to why Camille has high blood pressure. And if you can't understand that, then how do you expect the person that you're talking to or that's talking to you, how do you expect them to help you? So then if we think about blood and we think about blood clotting, do you know? So we just talked about what a blood clot actually is. And this is where I need y'all to make these connections. So they tell you you have a blood clot. Why does the blood clot? Because it's not thinning enough. But what did I just say thins the blood? Oxygen being taken through the lymphs. So blood issues are not blood issues, y'all. They're sinus issues. The blood cannot flow with regularity and does not stay anti-clotting if there's not enough oxygen to thin it, right? There's not enough oxygen to actually thin it. And if we go here, and when people talk about blood problems, they're not blood problems, they're sinus problems. The heart and the lungs and the blood do not breathe. So let's go and Google, where do we breathe from? Because I want y'all to be able to do this. Stop being scared with terms like sarcoid and cancer, and it's all inflammation. It is a stagnation of your waterway, which does not allow oxygen to flow through. And if cells don't breathe, if they don't get enough oxygen, they begin to die, right? Cellular death. So this is what, and look at how funny. So y'all, TikTok, right? TikTok is doing the same thing IG is. So this is the information, you guys. This is what they're doing, controlling what we are saying, which is why we have to keep talking. TikTok just cut me off because of what I said, right? It's why I keep talking. All I'm talking is logic. So if they keep cutting me off, then maybe what I'm saying has a little bit of truth to it, right? So when we talk about breathing, air, and this is their definition of how we breathe, air is pulled into your nose or mouth and into your windpipe. So it's pulled into your nose or mouth, not the heart, not the lungs. It's pulled into your nose or mouth, right? And then into your windpipe. Not lungs, not heart, not blood. This divides into airways, which are what? Airways are lymph waterways, waterways that carry the oxygen, supplying the left and the right lungs, supplying nose and mouth, supplying air, supplying air. So when I say that heart problems are sinus problems, I mean that, because the heart does not breathe its own oxygen. It has to be sent oxygen from the sinuses. So when I say that blood clots are only places where the lymphatic water has been restricted or stagnant, causing a backup, causing a dam, causing the blood to have to pump harder and faster, having the arteries having to work overtime. Same thing with the veins. It is, y'all, a sinus problem. And then they say the air passes down the airways, which divide another 15 to 25 times. And that's not even it. It's so many more than that. And finally, into thousands of smaller airways, lymph vessels. Those airways are waterways. Waterways are the way the body breathes. We breathe through water, right? We absolutely do. So when we're talking about blood and the issue of blood or high blood pressure or blood clots, if any of that, any of that, all of that is controlled by how much oxygen is being sent through the lymph waterways, period. So when they're talking about take a medication for high blood pressure or blood thinners, you don't want to artificially thin your blood. Are you crazy? You will make yourself pass out, have aneurysms, have all kinds of blood issues, because what they have done in a water pill is they've tried to overstep the body's natural function, forcing it out of natural functionality to make the body do what the body's supposed to do on its own. In my view, I don't know why you just don't reset the body and let the body do it anyway, because we've been programmed out of it. High blood pressure, strokes, aneurysms, all related to clotting factors in the blood due to a lack of lymphatic water that carries the oxygen. Period. So when you essentially say, and why Sebi said, there is no disease, there is no disease. No matter what they diagnose, it is a breakdown of cellular function based off of a stagnation of the water that carries the oxygen. That's it. That's it. That's all. And everything that comes from that is what's called cellular breakdown. So you're being diagnosed with what's called high blood pressure. And that's the first thing. High blood pressure doesn't mean anything. You're talking about people who learned information, who guessed. They guessed, remember? Because they can't create the body, so they guessed. You're essentially trusting a businessman who created this practice of medicine for profit, intentionally to prescribe meds. You're going to take a person who's indoctrinated with that information and tell you that you should take a toxic pharmaceutical medication that is not natural on top of a lymph system that is vulnerable. So if your lymph system is stagnant in a way where your body is evidencing signals or symptoms That means there's a stagnation in the main waterway that is supposed to balance and filter out the toxicity of the narcotic that you're about to put in it. The body doesn't work like that. You are now creating an overactive status in a lymph system that was already stagnant. And all it was doing, it was trying to do was tell you, that's it. It was trying to tell you, but you wanted to mute the signal. Even if you have a signal, most of y'all don't listen. According to their numbers, we probably all got high blood pressure, right? We probably all do. But the body has, like waves in the ocean, its own ebb and flow of inflaming and detoxing. It does this because that's what keeps the body balanced. You cannot shut off the signal because the signal is supposed to motivate you to move, right? Motivate you to move so the water isn't stagnant and the cells aren't suffocating. But if you are putting toxicity into that system and there's stagnation, parts of your body are going to get any effect of any sort whatsoever. And most of the time you don't. Because when you're on meds, how many of y'all have ever actually gotten off your meds unless you've taken yourself off? And when you go back to your doctor, if the med that they knew and suggested was going to work, why do they keep changing and increasing the dosage every time you go back? Because it's not fixing the problem. It is not fixing the problem. Those of you that are constantly dumbing down your body's signals with narcotic medication, narcotic pharmaceuticals, are increasing your chance of slow death because the medication is not fixing the cause, it's making the cause worse. And your body is simply breaking down and may remain status quo because the lymph system has to remain somewhat active to try and fight the narcotics that you keep putting off. Yeah, it did. Thanks, Cheryl. Yeah, so TikTok, listen, this is what I'm saying, y'all. This is why I need y'all to use logic. Those of us who are trying to explain logic to you, to wake up the brain, they are trying to shut us down at every single turn. Every single turn. And I didn't even really say anything that you know, they can actually say I said. But that's the point. So you think your government loves and cares about you and creates this program for you and your happiness. Yet when people like me are trying to open up the powerhouse, they want to shut us down. That's proof right there. Logic. You can use logic and make an inference about what that means, right? Because clearly they know that what goes in here controls you. And it does, because it's the nerve center. So I need to read this that somebody wrote. I went to a cardiologist for heart palpitations and the doctor said, do you want something for it? At the first visit, do you want, wait a minute, you asking me? Do I want something? That's what I try to explain when I tell people that going for annual physicals is just a means for them to keep doing what they do, right? Because how, in God's name, super logical, if somebody could logically answer this question for me, I will shut my mouth. How is it logical to some people that you going to see a human being one time or maybe twice a year for 20 minutes each visit? How is that okay to let them dictate your life? That's a moment in time. You know how many moments there are in a freaking minute? You know how many moments there are in a day? And we live 365 days a year. But you are going to assess and let a human scare you into thinking that they have any idea what your body is doing every minute of every day, is, I'm sorry, y'all, stupid. It's stupid. It doesn't, the fear literally has some of y'all imprisoned, absolutely imprisoned in fear. And so many of y'all are running after this most recent virus that he started. And what? You've forgotten about all the other potentials in the world? Like, it's a virus. The lymph system, because here's another secret. Pay attention. Remember, and all of this should make sense and connect to you, right? The lymph system is water, and the water carries the oxygen to the body, right? It carries the oxygen to the body. If you remember in science class, no virus, listen, none, because that's what they said, right? In science, no virus can live in an oxygenated state. And more than anything, that means the freaking body. And if you have a system that is responsible for carrying the oxygen in its water so that you are protected against every virus, then why in God's name is that the only thing that you're worried about? Why? Because if you understood that truly, you wouldn't care about any disease. Like me, I could get, listen, there is no disease because my concentration is always lymphatic stimulation to carry oxygen to let the body do what it does automatically. Period. And then the person who asked about it said she fixed it on her own. Of course you did. Because all it is literally, y'all, is a mindset. Remember, keep the mind fluid, meaning moving. Don't let it atrophy. Read, and I don't mean be read to, read a book that has pages that causes you to do something. They are now putting out articles that are talking about how dangerous it is 8 hours of sitting, right, is for the body. Of course it is. Because when you sit for 8 hours working at home, your lymphatic fluid stops moving like it's supposed to because you collapse at the pelvic area where the exit ways are. And guess what? They knew that when they created the pandemic in the first place. They absolutely knew that. And now those of us who weren't scared to death and went and took the death shot, now if we don't know better, we're going to get sick because we sit too much and we don't drink enough water. The ideal is to always keep the fluid in the body moving. That comes from what you eat, what you drink, what you listen to, what you say, what you watch, what you hear, who you surround your energy with. You have to be cognizant of that water energy balance at all times. Period. At all times. Because the minute that water stays still for too long, the dam starts, oxygen is reduced, cells stop getting sufficient oxygen, and then they call that disease. If you understand that there is no disease, especially if you keep your water moving, which increases the oxygen, then you wouldn't have any issues. That is the body in order. The body in order is a balance of the water and the electricity, right? Water and the electricity. In order for that balance to stay, we've got to create the waves. And when we were created in and with nature, we are the ocean. We are made of salt water that requires movement in order to balance the frequency of the atmosphere and our energy. So we have to think about what our body is doing or not doing. Anything in a grocery store that sits on a shelf is molecularly too big to get through our water, which is why minerals are important. Minerals are super, super, super important. Chit Chat Radio. Thank you as always for Wednesday nights. I guess we won't be on TikTok, but I'll keep talking. As always, you guys have been there since the beginning. Thank you, Chit Chat Radio. I will see you all next week. So IG, Now I can answer questions